So now I'm going to go through what I sent out in week 3, which was factoring a quadratic trinomial when a is 1. Okay, so when that first term is 1. So basically something that looks like this, where you're not going to see a number here. It's always going to be x squared, w squared, c squared, whatever your variable is, and then 2 numbers here. So if you remember what the video said, okay, we're factoring this into 2 binomials. So I know right away that's what I'm going to have. I also know right away, because all of these numbers are positive, that it's going to be a plus and a plus. Okay? And the only way, if I FOIL this back out, that I can get x squared as an answer is if I'm taking x times x. So I know that that goes there. So the first half of this is pretty darn easy. Okay? And that's the way it will always be if a is 1. If there's no number here, you're going to automatically just go x and x. Your signs might not always be addition, but we're going to talk about that, okay? Now, you guys had IXL, so there weren't any set worksheet problems I'm going to go over, but I picked 3 problems to just do to kind of go over it with you. So now, if you remember, if I were to FOIL this out, I would be taking x times this number, and then this number times x, and those would add together to give me 7. So I need to come up with 2 numbers that are going to add to give me 7. And then finally, for my last term, I would take that number times that number to get 12. And so those same 2 numbers have to multiply to give me 12. Now, some of you can look at this and tell me right away, Mrs. Lang, I already know what those numbers are. I can just see it. That's great. Some of us are going, ugh. So what I like to do is list the factors of 12. Give me 2 numbers that multiply to give you 12. Well, the easy is 1 and 12. 1 times 12 will give me 12, but does 1 plus 12 give me 13? Or give me 7? No, it gives me 13. So I can't use those. So give me another set of numbers that equal to 12. Well, 2 and 6. Okay, 2 times 6 does give me 12, but what is 2 plus 6? Is that 7? Nope, it's 8. So those are not going to work. Let's try 3 and 4. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 plus 4 is 7. There you go. So you put one of them here and one of them here. And that doesn't matter. You could have put the 4 here and the 3 here. But that's simply all you have to do. Now you could check your answer and FOIL that back out if you wanted to. Now, some of you are like, Mrs. Lang, you keep using this word FOIL, and I never FOILed. I used the box method. Well, if we think about this, same problem. If you did use the box method, what you did is you multiplied your binomial here and a binomial here, and you got x squared, okay, there, and you would have gotten 12 here. And then here would have been something x, and these would have been your like terms. So you have to figure out what would have been along the outside. These 2 would have to add to give you 7, and of course that has to be 12. Well, you know that what times what, it would have been x times x to give you x squared. And then the question is, what are these 2 numbers? Well, these 2 numbers, when I multiplied, would have been 12. But then when I took this number times x, I would have gotten a number, and x times this number would have given, and so they have to add to give me 7. So it's the same idea. You're just looking at it from the box method. And again, those numbers would have had to have been 3 and 4. Okay? All right. Let's do another example. This one is a little different because we still have an addition sign at the end, but now we have a subtraction sign here. Good news, the first part is the same. It's going to be 2 binomials. This is going to be x. This is going to be x. So now we need to look at our signs. We need 2 numbers that are going to multiply to give us 15, and those same 2 numbers need to add to give us negative 8, not positive 8, because if you do add a line, that's actually negative 8. Okay, so that means the only way to get a positive number when you multiply is either take a positive times a positive, but if both numbers are positive, there's no way this could be negative. Or you take a negative times a negative, and that's what's going to have to happen here. We took a negative times a negative to get a positive answer, and then a negative plus a negative is negative. So again, I can just list the factors of 15 and just stick a negative in front of them. So instead of 1 and 15, I'm going to do negative 1, negative 15. Okay? Again, those will multiply to give me positive 15, but the addition is negative 16, not negative 8. So those are out. Okay, what about negative 3 and negative 5? Negative 3 times negative 5 is a positive 15. Negative 3 plus negative 5 is negative 8. So I can write this two ways. You can keep it as addition and think, okay, this is negative 3 and negative 5. Or you can say it's x minus 3, x minus 5. Both would be acceptable. Okay, by algebra 2, you probably want to be in that habit, but for right now, since we're just learning, that would be acceptable as well, because they mean the same thing. Okay? Third example. Again, we have one addition sign and one subtraction sign, except this time the addition sign is first and the subtraction is last. So again, easy part. Let's do the easy peasy part. This will be x, and that'll be x in the parentheses. We know that much, right? And if you know you want to do plus and negative, you could go ahead and do your two plus signs. Or if you're someone who's like, I want to wait and I want to do a subtraction sign in case there is one. So this time we need two numbers that add to give me positive 5, but they're going to multiply to give me negative 50. Well, how is the only way you could multiply to get a negative number? One of the numbers has to be positive and one of the numbers has to be negative. That's the only way. So that means we're taking a positive plus a negative and getting a positive. That means our positive number has to be bigger. If this answer was, remember, same sign, keep and add, different sign, subtract, take the sign of the bigger number. So if my answer is a positive, that means my bigger number was a positive. If my answer was a negative, my bigger number is a negative. Okay? So two numbers. So one of the numbers has to be negative. Okay? Off the top of my head, I know that 10 and negative 5 will give me negative 50. The bigger number is positive, so it is 10 and 5. So I can do 10 and negative 5, or I can write plus 10 minus 5. Both of those answers would be correct. Some of you say, Mrs. Lang, I don't know what the factors are. I attached a multiplication table. You can look, but that is one of the things. You have to be able to know what numbers will multiply to give you certain numbers and add to give you other numbers.